Happy Wednesday, everybody. Like we mentioned yesterday, we have concluded our reading of The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. But he did want to leave you with a few final thoughts for you to just consider and to make sure really stick within your minds, even though we've gotten through the entire book. And then after that, I might give my own opinion or two, just because. But remember, we had it broken down into three parts. The first one being perception, the second being action, and the third being will. And perception, it's right, it's all about how we perceive any obstacle that we come up to. Like no obstacle or no circumstance is neither good nor bad. It's all about how we perceive it, right? And we can look at everything we come up towards as a positive in nature. And then the action, the steps we choose to take once we have the right mindset in order to overcome that obstacle, and then the will to continue to move forward no matter what life throws at us, no matter what this obstacle in front of us is doing. Like that will that we can control, that nothing external can determine or control. It's all about our internal, that inner citadel that we have to continue to move forward, right? And the big thing is that all three of these all work together. And they need to in order to overcome any obstacle that we have in our way. And then the big thing about obstacles is just looking at the positives in them, because we know that obstacles lead to opportunities. And every time we're faced with a difficult situation, right, it can be better for us, because at the end of the day, the more we're able to overcome and accomplish, like the stronger we're becoming, the more we're building ourselves up, which is huge in that continuous improvement livelihood that we're ultimately looking to achieve. And then just to leave you with the quote, kind of the phrase that began the whole book itself, is what blocked the path now is the path. What once impeded our action advances our action. The obstacle is the way. There it is. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Now to give you a little bit of my own feedback and just a few things I think are really important that I took from it, is that I did like the book overall. There were a few parts of it within each part that may have been a little bit redundant, but I think necessary really to drive home a few points, because I think there's so much that I'm just going to apply to my day-to-day life. I think you just take some of the most basic principles that the book talks about, just thinking about like every situation that we come up to, like it's all about our perception, right? It's not good or bad. Like nothing is good or bad. It's all about how we perceive it. So whenever you think like in the most optimistic way, like you can make every situation good. Find the good in everything that comes about. And that's difficult because not everybody thinks that way, but I think we can begin to think that way and really strive to just get better in every single situation. And I think that's really important. I love the part about how you do anything is how you do everything. I know it's something that we constantly preach as a football program, and it just couldn't be more applicable to everyday life, right? If you can be the best at every single task, every job that you're required to do, no matter how big or small, like you'll be successful, right? You're training your mindset at that point, and that becomes very, very powerful. And then you just talk about the process, right? The process is about like step 1, step 2, step 3. Don't worry about the end goal. You talk about buds training for the Navy SEALs, like they don't look on Sunday to Friday. Like they don't try to jump days ahead. No, they work to get to the next meal because they know it's going to come. So like let's figure out how we get through that. Like let's just stage this. Okay, let's accomplish this, then accomplish this. And then you just stack those victories on top of each other, and eventually you're going to reach your ultimate goal. And that's the big thing too. Like when you're talking about obstacles, it's like people, like if you have a goal or an objective that you firmly believe in and that you're strong-willed enough to want to go after, like obstacles should not deter your path. If anything, they should just make you stronger along the way. And I think that's what this book is getting to, right? Like, we know anytime something comes up in our life, like, that's the new norm. That's the new way that we have to take in order to achieve what we ultimately want to. So when we do come up to things that are more challenging, like, we need to learn to embrace that, because at the end of the day, A, we know they're going to lead to more opportunities, and B, they're going to be able to harden us. They're going to be able to make us better, so that whenever we do reach our goals, like, we're equipped, we're hardened up, we're ready to go, because we've been prepared for it. Like, we prepared ourselves for it. And then another thing too, just in terms of perspective and perception, is a lot of people think that you need to be born into a certain situation in order to feel another person's pain, right? Or like, you have to have gone through it in order to know what it's like to like have that perspective of like, it could be worse because I've been through it. I think this book will give you insight that like, you don't have to necessarily have lived it to learn that. Like, you can be taught it. And I think if you follow this book with those three, think about just parts 1, 2, and 3 all together. It's like, if you can have the right perception, take the right actions, and then like have the willpower to keep moving forward, like, you're learning that yourself, right? You don't have to have been born in a impoverished situation. Like, you don't have to have seen somebody like in the field of battle like lose their legs and then have to live a life with as a paraplegic. Like, you don't have to have lived that. I think you can learn that by like developing that perspective, and then make sure you're taking the right actions, and then like that will we talked about. And I think that's just so crucial to understand, because yeah, we talked about it, like, things could always be a lot worse, and like but like a lot of us might not be able to genuinely see that. And I think when you can like develop the right habits to see that perspective, like, you're going to be a lot better off in understanding that, and then hardening yourself to think that way altogether in everything that you do. But really good book overall. You got to start to love obstacles. Every time you see the word or hear the word, it's like let's bring it on. Like, I want that. Like, the most challenging things in our lives are going to be what shape us at the end of the day. And that's why it's so important to like take these things head on, embrace them. Nobody wants to have a more resistant path, but at the same time, like, they're going to make us better. They're going to get us out of our comfort zone, because we want to be able to, like, our natural tendency is to seek comfort. We want to be able to live the most comfortable life, but having read this book and having the goals that we're aspiring to achieve, like, we need to know that comfort is not going to get us there. Like, we got to be able to take the road less traveled, the one that has a few more obstacles, different opportunities within it, because those are what's going to test us and prepare us to get to that next step. There's my rant. If you guys got any more questions or any more, you want to hear how else I feel about this book or anything like that, I'd gladly answer. But thank you guys all for tuning in. The ones that did, I greatly appreciate it. And we will see you another time with a new book in my hand. All right, take care.